lives. A lot of it for me that really touched me was just the way that he treated friends or people who maybe weren't the best at football or the best at sports or the most liked, like how he invited them in to their life. And just seeing some of them at the service and, little kids giving me a hug saying, Bryce was so nice to me, or Bryce made me feel like I was his best friend. He was so good to so many people. And he loved people where they needed to be loved. He had an ability to love people in whatever way they needed.
The night of Bryce's funeral, there was an amazing turnout, and so many people had attended church, perhaps for the first time in years. And the love and the energy inside of that church and deeply affected a lot of people, and they have since been drawn closer to their faith and asked themselves questions, what is different about that? I couldn't imagine going through something as traumatic as this without community. Having our small group instantly to touch base with, having the church show up at the hospital and support us, and friends, family.
People we don't know sending us books, sending us cards, sending us numbers, their phone numbers, reaching out to us.
By having so many deep Christian relationships, and just knowing the love that's there and feeling the love, the supernatural healing, we have never felt so loved before after Bryce's passing. And it makes it easy to overflow and to love on others. The night of Bryce's funeral, I hugged my aunt and uncle, and that was one of the people where I could feel that the love that God had filled me with, I was actually pouring it to them through the hug. I had not known at the time, but their son was in the hospital on life support and passing away. And a few days later, he had passed away. And them experiencing the love that was inside of our church through the body, the people of Christ, has really changed their perspective on this world, and they are now seeking their own personal relationships with Christ.
And I know for me too, so many of my family members have been coming to church, and their eyes were just opened, and their faith is growing, and they're clinging to him now in the midst of their own trials and hardship.
Mandy and I have had the opportunity to minister through this suffering. We've walked beside other people that have lost children recently, and even people that have a neighbor that's lost a child 30 years ago, opening up to us about the pain of loss.
I depend on God every day. He is my strength, and he provides me love every day. I had no idea that he was so full of love. I've learned that he literally prepares the path before you. And I've seen that in so many ways of how after this happened, he had set so many things in place for us to be able to get through this. And he's just constantly doing that in our lives. He brought us to a good church. He grew our faith. All the little things that Bryce did that day.
Since Bryce's passing, it's a lot easier to see God show up and where he's at and where he's been. And it almost feels like a spider web and how everything is interconnected. And I have a belief that in heaven, we're going to be able to look down and just see a web and ripples and the love that God has and how he's connecting things that were never obvious before.